Hello, I'm Katie, and I will be addressing Benjamin Franklin's November 1782 letter entitled Information to Those Who Would Move to America. This letter addresses the misconceptions and speculations that Europeans have about American lifestyle in the 1780s. At this point in time, the Battle of Yorktown had just happened in October 1782, and it was the last major battle of the Revolutionary War. Afterwards, peace negotiations would start between Great Britain and the United States. At this point in time, Benjamin Franklin would be sent to negotiate peace between Great Britain and America. He would be one of the signers of the 1783 Treaty of Paris that would officially end the Revolutionary War. Americans had, as a result, earned their freedom that they had declared in the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. Many of those who believed that they would receive an opportunistic lifestyle in America were the wealthy. These people believed that if they made the voyage to America, they would be able to receive some form of public office or have a relaxed lifestyle. Benjamin Franklin tried to dissuade them. With this, he addressed that the truth is that though there are in that country few people so miserable as the poor of Europe, there are also very few in Europe that would be called rich. It is rather a general happy mediocrity that prevails. There are few great proprietors of soil and a few tenants. Most people cultivate their own lands or follow some handicraft or merchandise. Very few rich enough to live idly upon their rents or incomes, or pay the high prices given in Europe for paintings, statues, architecture, and the works of art that are more curious than useful. These middle-class citizens were the backbone of America. They were the basis for the American economy. If a person could offer no services, then they were little use to Americans, and people rather did not have any interest in them. In a country that had been ruled by Britain for the last several decades, status of birth did not matter because there was a dislike of the monarchy. King George III was highly disliked amongst Americans, as were the majority of the British population that was loyal. George Washington, who held public office as a commander of the Continental Army, was one of the many few who was liked by the American public. Franklin expressed this opinion with, "Much less is it advisable for a person to go thither who has no other quality to recommend him but his birth. In Europe it is indeed of value, but is a commodity that cannot be carried in a worse market than that of America, where people do not inquire concerning a stranger, what is he, but what can he do?" As of 1782, the Articles of Confederation were still in effect in America. Most of the power given to the government was actually spread out amongst the states and the state legislatures. The government can neither raise money for soldiers' pay, nor would it be able to raise money to pay a person sitting in a public office. Now at the end of the war that America had entirely been released with Britain, it no longer has the opportunity of trade. The large agricultural industry is the basis for America's economy, but a new industrial industry based on manufacturing would be good. America needs to become more self-reliant and be able to produce more goods itself instead of just exporting raw goods and receiving imported goods from Europe. Franklin was hopeful that more craftsmen, artisans, and farmers would make the voyage from Europe and settle down in America, and within 2 years go through the naturalization process and become full American citizens with the prospect of more land from the crowded land of Europe and looser ties with Europe as a result of the war. Since the markets in America were so small, craftsmen would have less competition and receive a greater income. This would definitely make more craftsmen willing to travel to America and bring their families with them. Also in America, many would pay to give their children apprenticeships and receive a proper income for the future. These children were not always illiterate, and this was the best form of schooling that they could receive. Generally, the price for a voyage to America was high. Families could not entirely always afford to travel to America. Sometimes only certain individuals would make the trip. Often individuals would be apprenticed in Europe or enter an indentured servitude for a number of years to pay the cost of the voyage and receive an education in the craft while living in America. Benjamin Franklin addressed indentured servitude with, "This is the desire among the masters, to have more hands to employ in working for them. Induces them to pay the passengers of young persons, of both sexes, who, on their arrival, agree to serve them 1, 2, 3, or 4 years. Those who have already learned a trade agreeing for a shorter term in the proportion to their skill and the consequent immediate value of their service. and those who have none agreeing for a longer term, in consideration of being taught in art in their poverty, would not only permit them to acquire in their own country. The chance for a short number of years to learn a skill and have your voyage paid to America was a good offer for many citizens. Both males and females could make the voyage and would only have to serve a number of years, and in the long run would receive a profession that would help them out in the future. These craftsmen and apprentices would hopefully create new jobs in the manufacturing industry of America that would slowly be expanded as more people come over from Europe. Hopefully, citizens in America would be able to find a new job or apprenticeship, as they have lost their previous source of income if they're a soldier in the Continental Army as the war begins to wind down. Still, for many Europeans, their only goal, if they were to make the voyage to America, was to receive their own plot of farmland where they could work. This hopefully would create jobs for future Americans, and the farm would be passed down from generation to generation that lives in America. These Americans would uphold the virtues of revolutionary republicanism, including hard work, which would be passed down from generation to generation to their children. Benjamin Franklin also believed in this aspect. Industry and constant employment are great preservatives of the morals and virtue of a nation. Hence, bad examples to youth are more rare in America, which must be a comfortable consideration to parents. New citizens have found that their freedoms and respect towards rights towards religion are accepted in America. Children will grow up learning the morals and virtues which would be respected later in life. Having been the ambassador to Europe from America to both England and France several times, Benjamin Franklin felt the need to describe to the people of Europe the lifestyle of American citizens in order to attract a middle class of farmers, merchants, and manufacturers that America would need for the foreseeable future in order to keep their government standing as well as their economy. America needed support, development, and support. The only way to really do this was to attract future citizens from Europe. And in order to do that, Benjamin Franklin hoped to attract the right type of citizens that would only benefit the country and its future.